Hello everybody, it's me, I'm a tomato, and welcome to Starcraft 1, Zerglings Only. I've got a lot to talk about, so let's just get into the rules. The rules for Starcraft 1 Zerglings Only is very similar to the rules for Starcraft 1 Marines Only. I can only build drones and Zerglings. I have to kill all units that are not drones and Zerglings. All buildings are allowed except sunken colonies. I can only use drop lords if required, and I can only use heroes or other units if required. Mission 1 is very simple. All I have to do is destroy the Terran base. Well, that's what I thought, when actually I have to make a spawning pool and a Hydralisk den, then destroy the Terran base. But when I was playing through the mission, I forgot that I had to make a Hydralisk den, so I thought I had to finish off all the Terran units, and I ended up building a bunch of spore colonies to destroy the flying wraiths, which was actually completely useless, and then I checked the mission objectives and realized I had to build a Hydralisk den. Mission 2 is also simple. All I have to do is use a drone to bring the Chrysalis to a beacon. I start with 3 Hydralisks, 2 Mutas, and 6 Hunter Killers. Killing the Hydras and Mutas is fine, but Hunter Killers are so special and it feels just sad to kill them. Other than that, I just build a ton of Zerglings and clear a path from my drone. But while clearing a path for my drone, all of my units just keep getting shot by flying units that I can't do anything about. In this mission, the, 4 scouts that are in the sky aren't really that problematic. But in later missions, flying units will be a huge source of problem. Mission 3 is where things already start to become slightly difficult. The enemy has a large number of siege tanks on cliffs that just destroy all my Zerglings. Different from Marines, Zerglings have to run up to the siege tanks to actually attack them, which gives the siege tanks a lot more time to shoot the Zerglings. So this makes siege tanks and all other ranged units a lot more deadly. The first time I was playing the mission, I accidentally let a few firebats into my base, which slaughtered all my Zerglings because of their splash damage, and then killed the Chrysalis. Other than that stupid mistake, to actually make it to the enemy base, I have to run my Zerglings through a valley that continuously is shot by siege tanks. And even once I make it to their base, because of how many siege tanks they have, all my Zerglings get finished off. But I'm able to rebuild my army and complete the mission. Mission 4 is really annoying because there are constant attacks of firebats and marines throughout the entire mission. And the firebats have splash damage, so they're especially good against Zerglings. What makes it even more difficult is that the first attack wave comes before I can even build my first spawning pool. But by placing my units right under where the dropship drops the units, I'm able to kill the attack wave without any losses, and it's super easy. But for some reason, the second attack wave comes from a different direction than I expected, so I end up having to evacuate my mineral line and take a ton of casualties. Luckily, I'm able to recover, and everything was seemingly going fine until during one of the attack waves, Kerrigan killed a firebat, so I had to reset. After resetting, Kerrigan hatches again, and once that's done, the attack waves are able to be dealt with more easily because by that point you're able to mass up Zerglings. All I have to do is keep Kerrigan from killing things, and after I've massed up enough Zerglings, I can just send them in drop lords and destroy the enemy base. Mission 5 is another interesting mission. In this mission, I get 2 Hunter Killers, Kerrigan, and 6 Zerglings. I have to kill the Hunter Killers, and Kerrigan can't attack, but 6 Zerglings can't make it through the mission alone, so I decide that I can use Kerrigan to tank. After killing a ghost, a few marines, and definitely not a bunch of innocent civilians, I'm able to step on a beacon and see the main objective. After running past an annoying part where some ghosts shoot me on a high up ledge, I make it to the first problematic part of this mission. A room full of 6 Goliaths. And this is where the continuous saving and loading starts. I decide to burrow the Zerglings right outside of the Goliath's range, and then use Kerrigan to pull the Goliaths into my Zerglings. But sometimes I would accidentally put the Zerglings too close and the Goliaths would kill them while they're trying to burrow. The first 4 Goliaths die, and because the second 2 are split up, I'm able to kill them easily. I end up going into the next room and try and kill a bunch of Marines, but they kill all my Zerglings except for 2, After struggling with the Marines a bit and almost losing a Zergling to the ghosts, I move on to the next part of the mission, which is a hallway full of auto turrets. In my first attempt of getting past this, I try to have the auto turrets raise, retreat my Zerglings, and then destroy all the auto turrets. While I'm trying to do this, a Zergling gets caught between an auto turret and the wall, resulting in its death, which makes me have to reload. Because I didn't save, I have to go back and fight the Marines again, and I accidentally lose one of my Zerglings, but I just decide to live with it. After testing a few methods of getting past, I just decide to hug the top wall and slide across, trying not to take any casualties. After that, I finally get some reinforcements, and I'm able to use these new units to smash through a group of Marines and automated missile turrets. And then, I run into a bunch of firebats, which, surprisingly, aren't the hardest to kill enemy in this run. Luckily, in this next part of the mission, all I need to do is use Kerrigan to unlock some doors so that my Zerglings can make it to the end. I run past the firebats and then get locked in a room. In this room, I need to run up a ramp, get past a ton of Marines, and then unlock the doors by stepping on a beacon. But they have detection, so Kerrigan can't just cloak and get past them. And I don't have enough health on Kerrigan, so I just have to wait until she regains enough health. I wait, and I wait, and then I get bored. So I decide to save, run her past, and it works. I'm able to unlock the doors and move on. I run into some firebats with my Zerglings and take some casualties, but I really just don't want to go back, so yeah, I'm living with it again. I go through a teleporter and finally make it to the last part of a mission. A staircase with 5 ghosts and 2 missile turrets at the top of it. At this point, I had only 5 Zerglings left, and I wasn't really sure how to complete the mission. At first, I just tried suicide charging into the enemy, but that really didn't work and all my Zerglings died instantly. So then, I decided to try pulling the ghosts out a few at a time, and then charging the missile turrets and destroying them. After a few attempts, this worked, but you need Kerrigan to complete the mission by stepping on a beacon, and she was still stuck in a room full of Marines and missile turrets. At first, I thought it would be really easy to bring her out of there, but every time I tried, this stupid Marine would keep blocking the path, and I wouldn't be able to make it to the ramp, and Kerrigan would just die. I wasn't really sure what I should do, because I can't kill the Marine, and I wasn't able to really lure the Marine away. But after a few attempts of just trying to walk by, it worked. I'm not sure why, but, I could then complete the mission. Mission 6 is pretty much like all the others. All I do is kill all my non-Zergling units in the beginning, and then start building up Zerglings. Other than a surprise zealot attack at the 2-minute mark, things are going well, and I'm just stocking up my mineral line. But at about the 7-minute mark, a larger attack comes that I for some reason didn't have enough Zerglings ready to fight off, and I almost die because of it. At the 13-minute mark, an attack wave with a Reaver comes. Reavers have high splash damage and are the perfect counter for Zerglings. The attack wave destroys my base and I have to reset, but one thing I noticed while I was watching the recording is that I accidentally used some drones to attack the Zealot in the beginning, and I would have had to reset anyways. I restart the mission and get to the Reaver part again. I decide to split my Zerglings into smaller groups so that they didn't get absolutely annihilated by the Reaver, but despite my best efforts, the Reaver still gets about 50 kills while I'm trying to destroy it. Unluckily for me, all the expansion bases are on high up ledges that can only be reached by flying units, and because they're not necessary, I'm not able to build overlords and fly some drones over, so I only get my main base. But luckily in this mission, the money from the main base is enough to win. After a little while, I mass up enough Zerglings and try and attack the enemy base. During the attack, Reavers absolutely slaughter my Zerglings, some of them getting upwards of 30 kills. I'm almost able to finish off the base, but because of the flying units and a reinforcement attack wave, my Zerglings get finished off. After that, I send the secondary attack wave to the other enemy base and destroy it, but the leftover Zerglings aren't enough to destroy the main base. But after just sending a continuous wave of Zerglings, I'm able to destroy the base. I need to use overlords to bring Kerrigan to the middle island, but because I don't have the transportation upgrade, I'm forced to wait till it's done. Once it's done, I send Kerrigan to the middle island, but for some reason Tassadar doesn't appear, and I'm really not sure why. After some time, I suspected that it's because there's some units left on the map, which usually doesn't make sense, but it was kinda my last resort. Annoyingly, these units were dropships, so I had to build a hatchery underneath them, and then build spore colonies so that I could destroy them. After killing one of the 2 dropships, for some reason the event triggers and I'm able to complete the mission. I don't know why I only had to kill one of them, but it worked, so I'm on to the next mission. Mission 7 is an interesting one, because I need to use Hydralisks and Mutalisks to take out a base so that I can set my base there. But because I can't use those units, I try to set up a hatchery, a spawning pool, and then spawn some Zerglings so that I can take out the base. But the base is too heavily defended, and it has Mutalisks, so I'm not really able to fight it. But after some exploration, I'm able to find a spot behind an enemy base where I'm able to use the mineral line. This works fine until the enemy decides to start moving units right through where my base is, and I can't hold it off because the Zerglings and Hydralisks are way more powerful because of their upgrades. After some trial and error, I'm able to find this place right next to the enemy hatchery where I'm not able to be attacked. I build up some Zerglings and try and take out the enemy base, but it doesn't go too well and I end up having to reset. Even after taking out the enemy base correctly, I'm still not able to set up a gas geyser for a while, because the enemy keeps transporting units through there and destroying my gas geyser. But after amassing up enough Zerglings, I'm able to take the base that was initially meant to be my main base and start mining from it. This makes the mission significantly easier, and I'm able to go around destroying all the bases on the map. In the end, there are 2 bases that are on high up cliffs that I'm not able to reach, but luckily I saw these before and started researching before I destroyed all the bases. So all I have to do is load up my Zerglings and fly over to the enemy bases and destroy them. If you can't already tell, Starcraft 1 Zerglings only is way harder than Marines only, and this is starting to get me worried for the last mission. Luckily, in Mission 8, I already have a pre-set up base, so I don't have to go through all the troubles of Mission 7 again. In this mission, you have to keep Dark Templar from escaping the map, but because a lot of my defenses are Hydralisks, I have to kill those, and I don't really realize, but a Dark Templar is able to escape by just killing 2 of my Zerglings and leaving. Another annoying thing is that Dark Templar one-shot my Zerglings, which makes it significantly harder to keep them from escaping. But the first Dark Templar always goes to the same exit, so I'm just able to fortify that in the beginning, and it works well. After that, another Dark Templar doesn't come for a while, so I'm able to build up enough Zerglings to not have to really worry about it again. Further into the mission, I set up my secondary base, and things are going smoothly until I encounter the High Templar for the first time. These are another one of the really annoying high splash damage units that slaughter Zerglings. But because Psystorm is an ability, they usually only use it once, which makes them way less threatening than Reavers. Which is lucky for me, because if I had to fight 2 really high splash damage units at once, this campaign would be way more difficult. Even with High Templar and Reavers absolutely shredding my forces, I'm able to destroy both of their main bases and move on from the mission. Because of how easy Mission 8 was, I was pretty confident going into Mission 9, which I really shouldn't have been, because this is the first mission where you encounter carriers. Carriers outrange spore colonies, which make them super difficult to take down with my defenses. The solution I came up with is using a layer of creep colonies in front of my spore colonies, so that when the carriers attack my spores, I'm able to morph the creep colonies into spore colonies and hit the carriers. This strategy works fine against the single carriers that are sent in the beginning of the mission, so I'm able to move on. After retiring all my non-Zergling units, I set up my economy. And because the attack waves aren't that powerful and are pretty sparse, I'm able to build up a huge army of Zerglings pretty fast and easily. After getting about 100 Zerglings, I rush the Protoss and clear to the Kyderan Crystal. But I don't harvest it yet, because I thought that while I was waiting the 15 minutes, the enemy would swarm the crystal, so I decided to destroy the Protoss bases instead. This, however, does not work out well, because after multiple attack waves on both of the near enemy bases, I'm not able to destroy them. Whether it be because of lack of control over my army, or the enemy bases being incredibly tough, doesn't really matter, because my forces get slaughtered, and after continuous attacks on my base, it crumbles. But I still have that random drone by the Kaidaran crystal. So as a last resort, I harvest the Kaidaran crystal and move back to my base. My drone makes it back and gets killed by a Reaver. But it was barely close enough and drops the Kaidaran crystal right on the beacon, and I complete the mission. Mission 10 starts off like every other mission. I kill all my non-Zergling units and start building up an economy. The first Zealot doesn't even get to my base till the 4-minute mark, and I already have enough Zerglings to deal with it, so it's not a problem. After an attack wave with a Zealot and a Scout, I start to take other bases. After nearly clearing the southwestern base, the first carrier attacks me. While using Zerglings as a distraction, I start to build spore colonies, but they're not able to destroy the carrier fast enough, and it escapes with barely any damage taken. After that, I start creating a huge army of Zerglings. While doing this, I see a unit enter my base on the minimap, but because it doesn't attack anything, I think it's an observer and leave it alone. But when I look at it, it turns out to be a Reaver that is just sitting there. When I rewatch the footage now, I don't really know why I killed him, but it doesn't really matter. After that, I use my huge swarm of Zerglings to take out the base to my east. Because of how powerful the bases were on Mission 9, I thought that clearing to the main objective would be really difficult. But I was actually wrong. Because of how little carriers, or air units in general, they had, it was really simple, and all I had to do was just A-move my entire army of Zerglings. And even though an air attack wave started destroying my base, I was able to bring the Kaidaran crystal to the beacon and complete the mission with relative ease. Just like Marines only, the last mission was kinda anticlimactic. In conclusion, it is possible to beat the Zerg campaign of Starcraft 1 with Zerglings only. But the gap in difficulty between Marines only and Zerglings only is really big and makes me worried for the next campaign. But I'll have to confirm my fears for the next campaign in another video. Anyways, I don't really know how to do an outro, so